going to be adding further variations to the vocals that we've utilised so far. We've got the variation vocals. That's great. And obviously the main vocal line. Just so you know. But what we need, I think, is just some more alternations or variations on those. So I've added a sampler. I've gone and it's a bit of a Blue Peter moment, and here's what we made earlier. And the actual sampler, you can add more samples per root note rather than the simpler, which just does one sample at a time. So what I've done, once you import a sample to the sampler, it drops it in root note 3, and the green bar will be extended. So I've just pulled that down to just either side of the root note like that, which means it's only going to play on the root note C3, that particular sample, which is this one here. Now if I just demonstrate it, you can hear that root note on C3. You can see it playing there. Now I've also added root notes to the 2 corresponding notes directly above, and what I've done is just right clicked on that first sample, duplicated, and then just moved the little green bar from root note C3 to C3 minor, and then adjusted the root key in the sampler down here on the left accordingly from C3 to C3 minor. And then I've done that with the next sample too, so you can go on along the whole keyboard range with this, up to 128 samples for this particular sampler. So if we play the next root note up, and as you can hear, that has got like a reverse effect. So what I've done on this sample is, if you select that sample here, I've gone in and selected loop until release mode. Now this will default to, like the sample above, it'll default to this particular sustain mode, which is like sort of your note on mode, which means that once the note's released, the sample will stop playing. But in this particular case, we've gone for loop until release, which is very apparent in a lot of old hip-hop sampling, and a lot of the old Akai samplers that sort of cornered the sampling boom in the early 90s, was you can play the samples backwards and it'll also play forwards again. So you can either start at the front of the sample at the beginning of the loop point, and it'll play backwards at the end of the loop point. So instead of looping back to the beginning, it'll play back and then back again. On this occasion, I've selected the cursor to be at the back of the sample, so it's playing backwards first and then it's coming forward again. So it gives it a nice effect. And the same with the third sample that I duplicated and added to the note above. I just pull this root note key up 1 again. So what I've done is, in this little clip here, just added a little melody, just purely by the length of the notes and the note on messages that the sampler receives. If we select that clip, see that in the mix. I think that's sounding good. So what we want to do is pull that out to 7. That's right. And then duplicate the first guy here. So it's doing it over 8 bars, so it's a bit more constant and a bit more hypnotic now. If we play the clip too. We can add some effects to that later on in the process, but for now we've got 3 main vocal parts. Let's delete this clip here that I was showing the demonstration. We've got the Vox OO in the sampler, the Vox variations, and we've got the main Vox line. So I think we've got enough there with some effects and things that we'll do when we're arranging. We've got enough there to work with.